Hari Om to all the Atma Jyotis, divine light of the self. So, the next session of Dharma Kshetra, we will start with the Guru Vandana. Oh, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Narayana Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So last week we went through quite comprehensively 10.9, Shloka 10.9. If you remember what that is, let me just, let's recall 10.9. So just a minute, share screen, yes. Okay. So this is a very beautiful verse which says how a seeker immerses himself in thoughts of Krishna all the time. Matchittah matgatah prana bodhayantah parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So when our minds are fixed on Krishna and the lives are surrendered to Krishna, the devotees are remain ever content in him. They don't want anything else. Okay. Matchitta, madgatah prana, their very life breath becomes Krishna. Their mind is completely occupied by Krishna, thoughts of Krishna, devotion. The very life breath, madgatah prana, that is the most beautiful phrase that has been used here. My very life breath is dedicated to the Lord, not for any other worldly pursuit. And what do? Bodhayantah parasparam. Even when they talk, it's about Krishna alone. Krishna in the sense, it's about the higher values of life and stuff. And then katayantasta mam nityam. Every day, they exchange notes about what happens to Krishna. And they'll try to rope in others also. Tell them about the glories of the Lord. Tushyanti. They are very content doing that. Ramanti. And they revel in it. It's not just a placid contentment. It's not like a buffalo who is very happy in murky waters, the chewing cud. It's a higher kind of reveling in the highest. So conversing about my glories. So just we discussed at length. Of course, we dedicated a whole class to this. But one more little thing I wanted to share about this is always talking about the Lord. I mean, it seems to be a tall order. How can you always talk about the Lord? But that is what the scriptures recommend. And in the Kathopanishad, it says, Anyavacha pramuchyata. The one who is in pursuit of moksha or mukti or God, Anyavacha, you should not talk about other stuff at all. Like how aspirant in worldly life, a sports or studies or IIT or whatever it is, the focus is so sharp. You look at such persons, they won't talk of anything else. Their compass always points north to whatever their focus is. So that should be the kind of focus of a mumukshu. Anya vacha pramuchyata. Anya, other kind of talk, pramuchyata, avoid. See? When we start doing that, or when we start noticing that quality in us, be sure that, the goal is fixed and you are on the right track. Why should you not talk? Why this anya vacha pramuchyata? Why should you discard other talk? Because yeshaha amrutasya setuhu. This is the bridge to immortality. This talking about God, being immersed in God, being immersed in devotion, knowing about the glories of the God, glories of Lord, and realizing the true nature of myself, that is the bridge to Amrutasya Setuhu, immortality. Therefore, mundane things lose their grip. It is so natural, you don't even realize it's happening. You don't even miss the regular stuff that has been happening in life, and then just reveling in Bhagavan is that is Madgata Pranaha. Okay. Then we can go to the next. Anyone wants to add to this, or shall we go to the next one? Next one? Okay. We will chant 10.10. Again, it's the continuation of the same theme, more of the same. teṣhāṁ satata-yuktānāṁ bhajatāṁ prīti-pūrvakam dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam yena upayānti te. Beautiful verse. We can all repeat. teṣhāṁ satata-yuktānāṁ bhajatāṁ prīti-pūrvakam dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam yena upayānti te. Yes, who wants to go first? Anyone? Suma?
Yeah, I can go. Teṣhāṁ satata-yuktānāṁ bhajatāṁ prīti-pūrvakam dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam yena upayānti te.
Upayānti te, very correct. Amele? Next?
I'll go Purnaji.
Yes.
Teṣhāṁ satata-yuktānāṁ bhajatāṁ prīti-pūrvakam dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam yena upayānti te.
Very nice. Okay. Next, anyone? Jayashree, are you unmuted today? No. Okay. Padmaja? Kamala? Yes. Anyone?
teṣhāṁ satata-yuktānāṁ bhajatāṁ prīti-pūrvakam dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam yena upayānti te.
Beautiful. Okay. Kamala.
teṣhāṁ satata-yuktānāṁ bhajatāṁ prīti-pūrvakam dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam yena upayānti te.
Lovely. Shaila? Shaila, are you free to chant?
satata-yuktānāṁ bhajantāṁ prīti-pūrvakam dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam yena upayānti te.
Okay. Now which Shweta will chant next?
Me.
Yes, Shweta.
Can you please repeat it
Yes.
for me?
teṣhāṁ satata-yuktānāṁ
Teṣhāṁ satata-yuktānāṁ
bhajatāṁ prīti-pūrvakam
bhajatāṁ prīti-pūrvakam
dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam
dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam
yena upayānti te.
yena upayānti te.
Yes, very nice. So next.
I can go next, Purnaji.
Yes, Shweta.
teṣhāṁ satata-yuktānāṁ bhajatāṁ prīti-pūrvakam dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam yena upayānti te.
dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam.
Oh, dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam yena upayānti te.
Yes, that's
Upayānti te.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. So to those whose minds are always united with me in loving devotion, I give the divine knowledge by which they can attain to me. So which is that phrase which leaps out at you in the shloka? Very, very important to us. What does God promise to those who are immersed in his devotion? Yavadappa?
Oh, dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ.
Yes. Dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ. See, ultimately, we come to jnana. Bhakti, 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 bhakti. Last jnana. What do you say? Isn't that fascinating? How Krishna brings everyone to jnana ultimately. That is the goal of life. That is the ultimate realization. Bhakti is, that is the path. That is the setu. Through bhakti, jnana. Dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ. Satata-yuktānāṁ. The ones who are continuously, always, satata. See, satata-yukta is a phrase that keeps popping up every time, all the time in the Gita. Satata, always, ananya, satata. That is the key. We might complain, I am doing so much of bhakti, I think of the Lord so much, yet why such and such thing is not happening? Because there is some lack. It is not satata and it is not ananya. That is why. We should understand that. Yukta. Yukta is always, satata-yukta, united with the Lord all the time. And bhajatāṁ, again, loving devotion to prīti-pūrvakam bhajatāṁ. So, loving devotion to me, dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ tam. What will happen with that buddhi-yoga? Through that yena, through which maṁ upayānti. They will attain to me only via buddhi-yoga. So beautiful. I mean, this is quite thrilling actually. Because the whole of the Bhagavad Gita, if you see, is always about bhakti to the Lord. Surrender to me, this, that. Always the Lord keeps telling. Why is being told here? Why should you surrender to me? The answer is given in this shloka. Why should I surrender to the Lord? What will happen? What's in it for me? This is what it's for us. Dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ. This is the only thing that matters ultimately. And unless we have surrender or bhakti to the Guru, to the scriptures, to the Lord, this buddhi yoga will not work. You cannot go with a skeptical mind. That's the difference between how you approach a worldly pursuit and spiritual pursuits. Worldly pursuits, we will just launch. Madana, nodana. Let us see how it goes. Let me start. We'll have some kind of cynicism and skepticism when we start on something. But here, the first qualification is Shraddha. One of the many main qualifications is Shraddha. Shraddha in what? In the Guru, in God, in the Aptavakya, in the scriptures. So start with that Shraddha and you will land with buddhi-yogaṁ. So beautiful. Any thoughts on this? All of us can pitch in and then we can expand on this. Enappa? No one? No one wants to share anything on this?
I would like to share.
Yes.
Maybe you have heard about, Siddheshwar Swamiji. He is from, so my dad and we follow him a lot because I come from the same place where his ashram is. So we have seen, since, I was a child, I used to go for all this pravachanas along with my parents. Though at the at the age of 3 or 4, I couldn't get what he was telling, but my dad always used to take me and my sister along with him, and we used to sit for 5-10 minutes. Then as a kid we used to sleep off, but later stages, when I started understanding what exactly he was telling, we understood what is this essence of the life is.
Okay.
So that's what, in the last shloka, the 10.9, and this, I can, see the Swamiji into, that. He used to tell in a practical way of leading a life.
Very nice.
That is what, when bhakti, when you have a shraddha towards, whatever you are doing, automatically that buddhi will come to you.
Hmm.
That is what I realized, over a period of time.
Wonderful.
And when something, it's not happening, or, I can say you are in a situation where, you can't help yourself.
Hmm.
So I just think back and, I just discuss this with my, father. Then he'll tell, like, this is how you have to do. If I was in your situation, think like this and you can act on this way.
Very
He
good.
said, like, he always takes, pravachana, because morning he listens to the pravachana and, get up. Night also before sleeping, he listens to him and he'll sleep off. So
Yes.
he'll take out one of the things and he will, explain me. This
Hmm.
is what the thing is, this is how it should be.
Beautiful.
Then, I contemplate on that.
Very good.
Okay,
Hmm.
that this is this, this is this, this is okay, fine, okay, I got my solution.
Very nice.
That's how, the buddhijeevis, what I tell, they
Hmm.
will have, they, they are working towards their, you know, the shraddha is already, been done. The buddhi is towards, the Lord, I can see.
So what does Shraddha do to us actually? What is the logic that Shraddha, what does Shraddha do to make you eligible for Buddhi? We all
Basically,
know this. ಹೇಳು.
ಅದು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡತ್ತಂದ್ರೆ,
Hmm.
you will realize what exactly you are into, ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಕಾರ. But
Hmm.
I'm not sure that, whether I'm right or wrong.
Mhm. There is no right or wrong, but what I was hinting at is this devotion to anything
Hmm.
clears the clutter,
Yes, yes, absolutely.
and it is called chitta shuddhi. The
ಅದೇ
mind becomes
ಒಂದು
pure,
ಮೈಂಡ್
pure and pure.
ಫೋಕಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. Your mind is
ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ,
focused.
ಶುದ್ಧಿ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು.
Correct,
Because of
correct.
chitta shuddhi,
Hmm.
then you become eligible for the higher knowledge anta. That is
Correct.
the logic. That is why devotion is so important. That focus and devotion is so important to clean the heart, clean the mind, and clear it of all clutter. So this dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ is very fascinating, and I have a couple of anecdotes to share, which are mind-blowing actually. So recently, Prabhuji was telling us about Atri and Anasuya. The real meaning of what is Atri, what is Anasuya story. You all know that Lord Dattatreya was born to Atri and Anasuya, alva. We have this famous story of how the Trimurtis, the wives of the Trimurtis were jealous of this Anasuya's, fame as a highly devoted woman. So, so they wanted to test her bhakti. And then, one nimsha. A power illa Shashi Maneli, so don't on the ido geyser. All right. So, Atri and Anasuya, so Anasuya wanted to be, they wanted to test Anasuya, and so the Trimurtis came and they asked for alms, and she said, okay, fine, but they said you have to serve us, naked. You have to remove your vastra and then serve us anta. So what did she do? We all know. She prayed, and all the Trimurtis became small babies, infants, and then she fed them with milk. That is the story goes. On the face of it, it sounds like a very offensive story, isn't it? I mean, why would the Trimurtis demand that of any woman, that she should strip herself and then feed me anta? But that is why all our stories should not be taken at face value. There is so much more to it. And that is why, Papa, we all get a bad name, because we don't understand what is happening here. So Prabhuji explained this very beautifully. He says Atri stands for Buddhi. Atri stands for the Buddhi which is purified with Viveka and Vairagya. Atri is the husband of Anasuya, is a great sage. And Anasuya represents the mind which is purified because of this higher intellect. See, the intellect and mind are so connected. So when the intellect has this viveka and vairagya, if you develop that viveka and vairagya, the mind automatically follows and it becomes pure. So this combination of Atri and Anasuya means a purified, purified mind and a high intellect, Atri and Anasuya. So when there is this mind and intellect are purified in this manner, what will happen? Dattatreya is born to you. Buddhi-yogaṁ is given to you. That is the message here, which was so beautiful. It was stunning when I heard it from Prabhuji the other day. That is the real meaning, Anta. And what is the meaning of, removing your clothes? That means you have to become naked in front of God, means you have to drop all the baggage. One has to drop all the baggage, and there are no secrets in front of God. How can you have any secrets in front of God? Impossible. Because He is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. Is there anything that God will not know? So that means one has to be really, open completely. We should understand that basically being naked in front of God means to understand intellectually also there is nothing that can be hidden from God, and God is everything. So this is the secret of this Atri, Anasuya and Dattatreya story. So beautiful. Isn't it? Don't you feel all that it is, this explanation I hadn't heard before, and it makes so much sense. It is so beautiful. This Dattatreya and Atri and Anasuya. Dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ. If Dattatreya has to be born, if Buddhi has to be born to me, the intellect has to be sharp, the mind has to be pure, and one has to understand that God is omnipotent, omniscient, then dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ. And there is one line in the Narada Bhakti Sutra which says, what gives you the ultimate contentment in life? Andre, there is one phrase which says, Yam labdhva siddho bhavati, amruto bhavati, trupto bhavati. There is just one thing which gives you all three: siddhi, amrutatva, and trupti. And what is that? Of course, it's Narada Bhakti Sutra, so it is bhakti only which gives all three. Siddhi means perfection. What is perfect in this entire universe? It is only God. So, you attain to that divinity when there is bhakti in your life, is what Narada Bhakti Sutra says. Siddho bhavati. And what is the meaning of you attain divinity? You attain all those divine qualities which helps you express that divinity. For example, who do you think is the greatest devotee of Krishna among the characters of Mahabharata? Who do you think? Each of us, please chip in. Who was the greatest devotee? Kamala?
Shakuni.
Devotee of Krishna?
No, he always thinks about Krishna, and he will be
Really?
thinking about how he plans.
Correct.
So, in that way, he is thinking only about Krishna.
Very good. Okay, but would you call him a devotee, or devotion should be filled with bhakti. He was filled with kutila. I'm
So
not
there
sure.
are so many characters. So Kunti also making the bhakti that give me all the negatives in my life, give
Yes.
me sorrows. Then I can think about you. So Kunti.
Kunti. And
How about Draupadi?
Draupadi.
Draupadi?
Yes,
Yeah.
Draupadi also. Amale. Some more names.
Vidura.
Oh,
Vidura.
Vidura's
Yes.
Vidura's wife also does that, no? When
Vidura's
Krishna
wife.
visits Vidura's wife, she used to she was taking bath. So when Krishna, she forgets everything, and she comes and
Naked.
feeds him with the peel of banana. She could
Mm,
not even realize that what she is feeding him.
wonderful. Beautiful. Okay. So many beautiful
How
animals.
about Sudama?
Sudhama. Yes, Sudhama also. Okay.
I think in the beginning of Mahabharata, right? I'm sorry, Bhagavad Gita. I'm forgetting the name of the character. The one who's reciting this to Dhritarashtra.
Sanjaya.
Sanjaya.
Sanjaya watch. Yeah, Sanjaya, right?
Sanjaya was like Doordarshan. He was watching something and he
He's
was.
the Doordarshan. Okay.
But still,
Bhakta Kumbhara.
Huh?
Bhakta Kumbhara.
Allah, Bhakta Kumbhara, sorry. I am talking of Mahabharata characters.
Okay, sorry.
So your audio is back. Good. Okay.
I set it right again. Okay.
Sorry, what? Let me not do. All these characters are of course full of bhakti, but I was talking specifically of Bhishma. Bhishma. You know why? Because though he was on the side of Duryodhana for whatever reasons, he had his own reasons. He was one of the few characters in the Mahabharata who knew that Krishna was an avatara. Okay, and we know that Bhishma means he was an unmatched warrior. Nobody could face him. That's how through his life he was defending Hastinapura. Just one person was able to defend his country's borders from being this thing. That's why they had become this. Hastinapura was the most powerful kingdom in Bharatavarsha, and we know that he was the commander-in-chief of the Kuru army. And on the 9th day, what happened? Havoc. He fought so valiantly that the Pandava army, I mean, they were just dropping like 9 pins. They could not bear the onslaught of Bhishma's arrows on the 9th day. And by the end of the day, the Pandavas were completely disheartened and worried. They said, if this is how Bhishma is going to wield his arrows, his bow and arrow, then we are finished. War is over next day. And we will lose everything. And so Krishna also warns them, do something, strategize. We can't let this Bhishma go on fighting like this. And of course, the Kuru, Duryodhana was... Yes, Shweta? Duryodhana was, of course, over the top with, delight that this is happening. And so he could see the victory in his hands. But then on the 9th day, in the camp, with all the Pandavas and Krishna, they had a conference. They had to strategize what to do next. Then Krishna tells them, Bhishma is the only one himself. He can tell you himself how he can be defeated. Just beautiful. Look at that. Ask the enemy only. How can I defeat you, Anta? Because he loves you all, and this is after war hours, you can go and ask. So they all go to Bhishma's camp. Sorry if I'm repeating the story for you, but it is all very significant. So they all go to Bhishma's camp and they pray to him. Oh, Tata, please tell us how we can stop your onslaught. Then Bhishma is in a conflict. His loyalty is to Hastinapura, whoever sits on the throne, even if it's a nincompoop, he has to defend him. And here his dear ones are coming and asking him for a solution. So how does he resolve the conflict? He sees Krishna standing in the background, all the Pandavas leading, and behind them is Krishna standing and smiling. So you know what he concludes? God wants me to do this. God himself is asking me to reveal the secret. That means God wants the Pandavas to win. Of course, he knew it, but to directly reveal the secret of how they can win the war, it takes a lot of, because he was such an upright, honest person. For him to do that would have been extremely difficult. But the moment he saw God himself, Krishna himself, smiling in the background, he says, yes, this is what God wants me to do. That was the revelation he had. See how, unless he had that kind of devotion and the knowledge that Krishna is an avatara of Narayana himself, he wouldn't have had that. Shraddha, isn't it? So we know next what happens. He says, look, the only way to defeat me is, you bring a woman in front of me. I will not pick up arms when there's a woman. So they bring Shikhandi, and then he says Shikhandi's arrows are not strong enough to pierce me. So Arjuna has to shoot from behind Shikhandi. And so Arjuna, with great reluctance, he does that. And small aside here, Bhishma, because he's on the side of adharma, I believe I don't know how true it is, but it's very interesting. Bhudevi says, I will not give you ashraya. You have because of your policy of being with the Hastinapura throne, so much blood has been shed on me, I cannot bear it. So I will not give a sinner like you any place on earth, she said, Bhumi. And the heavens also said, there is no place for you here. You are such an adharmi. So we will not allow you into heaven. This is just an anecdote, I guess. So that's why Bhishma is aware of all this, because he was a jnani. So he tells Arjuna, make me a bed of arrows. I don't want to touch the ground, nor do I have permission yet to go to the higher worlds. And so Arjuna gives him a bed of arrows, and he lies on the bed of arrows. Can you just imagine how painful it could have been? One pinprick, we cannot tolerate. And this man, this 80, 90-year-old man, was lying on the bed of arrows, bleeding in every pore. How did he overcome that? How did he tolerate that? Bhakti. In the second chapter, there's a beautiful shloka which says, Kurmongani va sarvashaha. What is that shloka? Anyone can recall? Yata samharate chayam kurmongani va sarvashaha. Like how the tortoise withdraws its limbs into its shell. That is how a bhakta can withdraw all his senses. The senses are the ones which are giving him the sensation of pain, of misery, of worry. So he withdraws all the senses and makes it one pointed towards God. That is how that complete mind, the senses are completely withdrawn. And why? Because after the war, the Kurukshetra is won, Yudhishthira is distraught. He said, oh my God, all my people are dead, my relatives are dead, my brothers are dead, we killed him, we have done anyaya, and how can I take care of this Hastinapura? How can I rule with this heavy guilt in me? Anta. Yudhishthira was distraught. So Krishna says, go and talk to Bhishma. He will tell you how to rule the kingdom and what is what. That is when Yudhishthira goes and all the Pandavas and go and prostrate to Bhishma on his bed who is lying on the bed of arrows. This time of the year, just now, what is the date today? 13th Jan, probably now. Just before the Sankramana happens. Dakshinayana is ending and the Uttarana is upon us. That is when they all go, just imagine the scenario. They all go and pray to Bhishma again. So this is when Bhishma withdraws all his senses and gives Yudhishthira the jnana of how to rule a kingdom, how to be a good king. All the jnana he gives. And another thing he gives, what is that? Another divine thing, Bhishma.
Vishnu Sahasranam.
Vishnu Sahasranam. Yeah. Just imagine an old man lying on a bed of arrows. How can he recite the Vishnu Sahasranama? It's the peak of bhakti, isn't it? The peak of devotion and the peak of jnana. If he can think of God and describe God in 1,000 ways, ultimate buddhi-yogaṁ. That is what happened to Bhishma. Dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ. Krishna was there, always in the background. Krishna was there, the avatara was there, supervising all this happening. Isn't it a beautiful, what more testimony you want? That, this bhakti gives buddhi yoga. So the divinity was manifested through Bhishma on this, after the war of Kurukshetra. And of course, after this beautiful Vishnu Sahasranama that came out of Bhishma, of course he got mukti. Of course he got mukti when he ultimately decided to die. Because he had Ichha, he was an Ichha Manadi, isn't it? So this is about Buddhi Yoga and how it manifests in one, irrespective of your physical condition. It makes The physical environment is irrelevant for one who is immersed in God. That was one of the examples of buddhi-yoga. And this, have you heard of this Ramabhadracharya, who gave the testimony in the Ayodhya Ramlalla case? He is blind by birth. He is blind. This Ramabhadracharya is blind by birth, and he is completely he is full shastragna, top to bottom. He is full of the shastras. He knows everything. He's a pandita. He's a scholar in all the shastras, and he gave testimony in the court while fighting the case of Ramlalla. So his testimony was, where was Ramlalla born? Where was Ramachandra born? And this blind man, now he must be like in the 70s. He quoted the scriptures, and exactly as if one could see. Apparently, he told, you go so many miles to this direction, and then go in this direction, and then you dig up something, there you will find Anta. This Ramabhadracharya. No eyes, blind by birth, yet so much clarity about everything. So, and his testimony was, crucial in the finally what is happening on 22nd January. This Ramabhadracharya. So that is buddhi-yogaṁ. Dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ is how the buddhi-yoga comes. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. And how this bhajatāṁ prīti-pūrvakam, there was this Santa called Namadeva. I'm sure you all know, because Jayashree also mentioned Bhakta Kumbhara. So this Bhakta Kumbhara nalli, there's a anecdote about Santa Jnaneshwar, Bhakta Kumbhara, and this Namadeva. Anyone can recall that story? Gutta yargadru a story? No?
Is it where he tries to crush his child, or?
Yeah. Gorakumbhara is all about that, the one who, was so immersed in remembering Narayana, that Vithoba, that is fine. There's an anecdote which involves all these three Gnanis. Gotta yargadru? Somebody had unmuted avaga. Indra, you know?
No, Purnamaji, I don't know.
Okay. So, we know Jnaneshwar, no? He had three brothers and one sister. Jnanadeva, Sopanadeva, something else. And then Muktabai was the sister. They were all born Jnanis. They were all born Jivan Muktas. This is in 13th century Maharashtra. They were all saints of Maharashtra. In the Jnanadeva's timeline was another Santa called Namadeva. Santa Namadev. He was by birth, he was a bhakta of this Narayana, Vithoba, Panduranga Vithala. And he was such a bhakta that Vithala used to come and, in front of him, he used to sit, as if you and I are talking now. Vithoba would sit with him, talk with him, eat with him, play with him. He could experience the presence of Vithala all the time, this Namadeva. And so with this, a little arrogance also came into him. I can see Vithala, I can talk to Vithala, I can do this. Vithala is my best friend. This kind of little arrogance was in Namadeva. So his best friend was Jnaneshwar. He was completely Gnani. Jnaneshwara was a complete Gnani. He told Namadeva, look, your learning is not complete. No doubt you speak to Bhagavan all the time, but still there is something lacking. You should go and surrender to a guru. Unless only under the guidance of a guru will your gnana be complete. So naturally, Namdeva was mightily offended. He said, impossible. God himself is talking to me. What else do I need? Was his problem. Then Jnanadeva said, no, look, come with me on a pilgrimage. I want you to come with me to all the holy places and meet other jnanis. And so they go, and finally they land up in this Gora Kumbhara's house. Gora Kumbhara, as we know, was a very, very humble potter. And he was just immersed in his bhakti for Vithala. He had no arrogance. He was so humble. He was completely pure heart. So Jnanadeva goes with his two brothers and one sister and this Namadeva to Gora's house and tells Gora to test all of them. This potters, they have a stick from which they hit the pot and see whether it's baked properly. And so this is what Jnaneshwar tells Gora Kumbhara, test us. So this Kumbhara hits all of them, taps all of them on the head and says, yes, this pot is fully baked. Jnaneshwar, fully baked. His brothers, fully baked. Muktabai, fully baked. When he touches Namadeva's head, taps his head, he says, this pot is half baked. Ardha benda madike, he says. Imagine the shock and how much offended that Namadeva was to hear from a mere humble potter that he was not at a fully baked pot. So what is this phrase of Ardha Benda Madike? What happens when the pot is not fully baked? It still is soft and it still becomes a lump when someone touches it. And so the potter has to gather all the clay again and again shape it into a pot and again bake it properly. God has to still work on this bhakta. He is not fully baked yet. So when he listens to this, Namadeva is completely offended and he storms to Vithala, to Pandrapur and demands, what is this? How can I be a half-baked pot? So Vithala says, of course you are. Gora was right. You are still a half-baked pot. And so when God himself says that he's a half-baked pot, then Santa Namadev agrees to take a guru under whose discipleship he can complete his learning. So that buddhi-yoga was not yet there for him. Bhakti was there, but there was some blockage in him which prevented him from realizing his full potential. So dadāmi buddhi-yogaṁ means because he was devoted to Vithoba removed the blockage that Namadeva had. His great bhakta had some block in him, some arrogance, something which was preventing him from realizing his full potential. That's how God removes the block and sends the guru. That is how the story goes. Okay, I think I have said enough for today. You all please share your any more comments you have? Then we can close. Nothing. Okay. Yes, Padmaja.
Very nice stories about Atri, Anasuya, Lord Dattatreya, and Namadeva. I haven't heard this, so thank you, Puri.
Howda? Okay. That is the importance of buddhi yoga. No matter how much bhakti you have, ultimately, if it is not translated into buddhi, what will happen? What will happen? Then you spoke about it, Padmaja, the other day in Jnana Jyoti session. What happens to one who is not yet into buddhi yoga in this lifetime? What kind of mukti will that person have?
Videha Mukti. If they don't have that, they will only get the Jivana Mukti is for people who get the buddhi also along with it.
Videha Mukti is at death. Such people, at death also they might not get. Krama Mukti. Krama Mukti andre, they will go to the Satyaloka. They will go to Satyaloka or Brahma Loka, the highest loka, where there is no rebirth. But after this thing of Brahma himself will become the Sadguru for them. And it will continue. This Bhagavad Gita classes will continue. Vedanta classes will continue for this Bhakta. And then if there he doesn't have the Buddhi Yoga, till the lifetime of that Brahma, until that Pralaya happens, he will be there studying Vedanta. And when the lifetime of Brahma is done, then he is also liberated. That is what it is said. Okay. Anybody else? Any comments? And we, yeah, something, just one line, one takeaway, all of us, please. Yeah. Padmaja has given her takeaway. What about Indra? Just one line takeaway from today's class. Yeah.
Oh, whatever we do, the background has to be the Lord. If we keep that, then everything will fall in place.
Correct.
Like how we keep, when we are attached so much to our kids, no, we always, whatever we do, the background will be the kid.
Yeah.
She'll be doing this, she'll come back from school, all those things like that. If we keep
Yeah.
that attachment to God, background will always be Krishna.
Correct. Beautiful. Yes. Yeah. Shweta, Rao.
I think when you said the word Shraddha, right? Sincerity, that's how I translate it. So keep that Shraddha, and also, I always used to read the Shraddha and Suburi in Sai Baba's thing. So I always used to think, like, how does it relate to each other, right? I think it kind of made sense today a little bit more. Patience should be there, sincerity will come. With that, the consciousness, how you keep your mind on God. I think, was it Indra who just said that? Is all linked. So it kind of made sense today a little bit more to me than it's before. I always loved the name Shraddha and Subri. I thought if I have daughters, that's what I was going to name them. But it made more sense today, the way you talked about the story of Atri, Anasuya, and the Trimurtis, and of course Lord Datta. It kind of makes sense, right? Because even I think the gods came there to test her sincerity too, right? That's another angle how you can look at.
To test, but demonstrate. Yeah.
Demonstrate.
They
Yeah.
knew. Yeah, but they needed that world to understand.
That is correct. I had known that story and I said, really, why would they do this? Is how I'd like interpreted.
Exactly.
I'd heard about it when I was very, very young, actually. I was like, seriously? So I kind of like, I didn't want to think about that story because of the aspect of it.
Correct.
I was very, very young when I heard about it. I said, why would they do this? Is how I kind of reacted.
So that is why it's important to understand the three aspects of any stories, all our Puranas, the Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, and Adhyatmika. They are layers to everything. That is why we get a bad name, Papa, because we don't understand. Because nobody was telling us properly. So now that we have these explanations from the Guru, we should be able to tell it to others, especially to our children, what it actually means.
Makes sense, yeah. So.
Then, yes, Padmaja.
Purnima, you told about bhakti gives three things, Allah. Siddhi, what are the other two things?
Siddho bhavati, amruto bhavati, trupto bhavati. Amrutatva. Amrutatva is immortality. Yeah. Immortality means what is the greatest thing? Fear is death. Fear is what is mrityu for us. For humans, that fear itself is die, a little when you are fearful of something. So that complete fearlessness one gets with bhakti. Amrutatva. Fearlessness. God is there. Athwa I am immortal. I am idu anta knowledge bandubitre amrutatva. And then trupti, contentment. Trupti, you don't covet anything. Why will you? When you realize that everything is me, everything is God, I am not separate from you, all that's me, that realization sets in, contentment is there. Ashte.
Right.
This is what it is, anta. So three things about bhakti. Okay, one line, Suma. Take away.
For me, before coming to this Bhagavad Gita class, I didn't know the meaning of lot of words, even the very basic Shraddha, Manana, Nididhyasana, everything was looking like a foreign language to me. But over time, every week attending, this is the buddhi-yogaṁ. Now I can understand all those meanings and so much over the time listening every week to this, and I have learned a lot of new things. All this Jivan Mukta, Paramatma, Jivatma, lot of things actually. So this is the buddhi-yogaṁ. I'm getting
yes, because of the yoga
attending these
Shraddha.
sessions.
Correct.
Yeah.
Very true, very true. Very beautifully put.
Yeah.
Suma, if you have made notes as a thesaurus or a dictionary with all these meanings, please do share with the class.
Every day, like during the class, like I just take notes actually.
I know how you
So
are. That's why I asked you to share.
sure,
Very
I'll
good.
share with
Thank
you,
you so much.
Shweta.
Thank you.
Kamala, you want to share something? Jayshree, yes.
Yeah. I give up kartatva and bhoktatva and do all my work and surrender to the God with bhakti. Everything is being done by Him through me.
Very
That's I just do my work with 100% attention and sincerity
good.
and Krishna Arpanamastu.
Sorry, Buddhi
That's
Yoga guaranteed.
yes.
Buddhi-yogaṁ guaranteed. Yes, beautifully. Kamala?
The same Purnimaji. So Prabhuji has always told to be aware of what is happening around us. No, awareness about the true I in me. So when we are aware about all those things, all the vasanas will go away on its own.
Yes.
And so awareness about I is nothing but being aware of Krishna always, right?
Perfect. Very beautiful. So nice. Shaila? You want to say something, Shaila? Okay. All right. Shweta hasn't said. Did you share?
Yeah, I'll share. See, whatever Siddhi, Buddhi, Amritam, whatever you say, I would like relate that to my work. See, being a nutritionist, I am, improving somebody's health. So what I do is whenever I'm with a client, it comes to my mind that, I'm here to help this person to, improve their health. It's not like, money matters.
Correct.
Okay, money is my byproduct of my work. So even whenever I sit and customize their diet plans or something, it's like my kayaka. I am doing my kayaka. My kayaka is only my kailasa. So I do this with shraddha only, and the results are also like that. When that is what I follow.
Very
That
good.
is this is my practical thing, as well as what you said, like the clarity of the mind. The clarity of the mind has to be there. I've been practicing yoga. It's been 7 years now. Um, Starting, that fear was there in my mind, like, do I do this? How do I used to see the co-students, how they are doing it so well. And our instructor told it's been the year of practice what goes in. So now there is one asana, like Shirsasana, what you stand on headstand, you do, right? I was, practicing. I was not able to do it. Maybe it was not there in my mind. Over a period of time, now I have seen myself. My mind is clear. There is no fear, like, I will fall, or, I'll do something gonna happen to me. Easily, like, in the class, easily I'm the one, like, no need to worry, I'll go ahead. I'm the one who take initiates for all the advanced asanas because I'm practicing it. I'm into advanced sessions now. So all the advanced things are, going very easily. They are like, how come you do? I said, it's a mindset. The
Very,
minute you clear your mind, things will fall in place easily.
very good.
I would relate all this, like, Siddhi, Buddhi, whatever you said, to the practicality of my life.
That's
This
what,
is how it goes.
yeah, it shouldn't be just theory. So
Yeah.
only when you experience it, you will understand the full import of the whole thing.
Yeah, this is what is, my intake of this today's class.
Okay. So let's close for the day. Thank you all so much for let's close with a prayer. Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrutyormam amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम